Buenas noches, mis amigos. ¿Está bien? ¿Hablo en español esta noche? No? They don't be speaking Spanish tonight. And that's okay. Thank you, Dr. Levy, and thank you for the school board for this invitation to speak tonight to this graduating class. I have two goals. Number one, I want to be brief. And number two, I want to say at least one thing that this group of students will remember at least 1 year. So let's get started. There's a story about Albert Einstein traveling by train from Princeton, and the conductor was coming down the aisle, punching the tickets of the passengers. He comes up to Dr. Einstein, and Einstein reaches into his vest pocket, but there was no ticket. So he reaches into his pants pocket to find that ticket, but it wasn't there. He looks into his briefcase, no ticket. He looks over to the seat beside him, and man, he's beside himself by this point. He couldn't find that ticket, and the conductor said, "That's okay, Dr. Einstein. I know who you are. Everybody on this train knows who you are. We don't need the ticket. Don't worry about it." He goes on down the aisle, punching the tickets of the other passengers. Before entering the next car, he turns around and he sees the great physicist down on his hands and knees under his seat looking for that ticket. And so he rushes back and he says, Dr. Einstein, don't worry about that ticket. I don't need the ticket. I know who you are." Einstein looks at him and he says, "Young man, I too know who I am. I don't need that ticket for you. I need it for me because I don't know where I'm going." That story is probably more fiction than fact. And though it may not have much validity, it does cause us to stop and think about where we're going in life. So, today, you have completed one major step of your life, and you're about to begin your next step of your journey. And there will be times when you will have so many questions, you will be focused on so many things that are important that you fail to notice that which is the most important. That happens in life. Especially it happens in college life. And so most of you, not all of you, are going to college. And you're going to college so that you can get an education. And an education will help you learn things that are important wherever you go. And whatever you do, I hope that you gain wisdom. Because see, wisdom will help you build your future on the most important things. Wisdom includes the capacity to be able to discern what's overrated in life and what's not. So what I want to do tonight is to share with you 3 examples of the overrated. Number 1 is grades. Please don't turn off my mic. But grades are overrated. I mean, I'm not saying they're not important. Grades are important. And I believe that every student ought to do their very best to achieve in school, do their best in college. But you see, and there are some disciplines of college life where grades matter a whole lot. But here's the fact. Most of you are going to learn most of what you need to know about life sometime after college. Now, there's nothing wrong with working hard to learn something. But one day you're going to learn that life is more than grades. I have done a lot of funerals. I've preached a lot of funerals. I've read a lot of obituaries. I've seen a lot of tombstones. And I've never read an obituary that had somebody's GPA written in it. I have had the privilege of sitting at the bedside of many dying men, and it's been an honor, and dying women. Nobody has ever looked at me and said, "Brother Mark, you know, having looked back over my whole life, I just wish I'd had a better GPA in college." No one has ever said anything like that. So I recommend having fun, but not just do I recommend that, but even the Bible does. Did you know that? Listen to what Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes 8:15. He says, so I recommend having fun, because there's nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way, they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives them under the sun. So, my advice is to go to college. Have a good time. Get a degree. Work hard. Play hard too. Because this time of your life is actually a gift from God. One of these days you will look back and you will miss your youthful vigor. When I was your age, I could play basketball all night long. And I could get up the next day and I wouldn't be tired, I wouldn't be sore, I could go. When I hit my 20s, I could play basketball all night long. And I'd get up the next day and I'd be a little bit sore. I could still go. When I hit my 30s, I could play basketball all night long. And I'd get up the next day and I would be so sore I could barely walk. When I hit my 40s, I got up sore and didn't touch a basketball the night before. Now that I'm in my 50s, I wake up at 4 because I'm sore. Some part of my body just won't let me sleep past 6 hours. So I'm saying that you need to enjoy this time of your life. I don't remember most of the papers that I wrote in college. I wrote a bunch of them. But I do remember the times that I spent playing basketball and tennis with my friends. I don't remember most of the classes that I took in college. But I remember those midnight trips down to McDonald's to get a Big Mac or a quarter pounder. You see, I remember those things. So what I have learned in life is that life is not so much about competitions won, but about connections made. So enjoy your life, because grades are overrated. Secondly, happiness is overrated. Happiness. You see, happiness is just too circumstantial to be a life goal for you. Happiness comes to us in the English language in 2 words, hap. Hap means luck or fortune. It means to come about by mere chance. So if things happen to happen in your life in just the right way, you'll be happy. But if things don't turn out and happen just the way you want them to happen, then you won't be happy. You don't want to live your life like that. Because you simply don't have that much control over your life. In the name of happiness, we pursue all sorts of pleasures. Solomon is a great example of that in Ecclesiastes chapter 2. He would go down this road trying to find happiness, pleasure. He'd find a dead-end road. He would turn around, he would go down another road, and there was a dead-end road. He couldn't find happiness there either. He talked about some of the things he tried. He tried hard drinking. That didn't work. He didn't find happiness in hard drinking. He thought music. Maybe if I had the very best male and female singers that I'd be happy. But that didn't work. So a lot of wives, if he just had a lot of wonderful, beautiful wives, he would be very, very happy. Well, listen to what he wrote about some of those wives. He had 700 of them. He said, I find more bitter than death. That's pretty bitter, isn't it? Death is bitter. He said, I find more bitter than death. The woman who is a snare, whose heart is a trap, whose hands are chains. Solomon found out from first-hand experience that trying to chase pleasure is like trying to catch the wind. You can't do it. You fail every time. Now, at this point, I suppose I'm supposed to tell you that your very best days are ahead of you, and they are. But that's not all. Your worst days are ahead of you, too. The very best days of your life ought to be right in front of you and ahead of you, but your worst days are coming, too. And so, in life, everybody gets fouled. Happiness is an accident, but joy is a choice. That's why Paul can say in Philippians 4:4, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. There's nothing else that you can rejoice in that way. You can't rejoice in your grades always. Why? Because somebody's going to come along a little bit smarter than you are. You can't rejoice in your youth always. Why? Well, because one of these days you're going to be old too, and you'll hurt, you'll ache. You can't rejoice in the economy always, because the economy can change overnight. But you can rejoice in the Lord always, and why is that? Well, because He doesn't change. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Joy springs from a foundation that can transcend the good days and the bad. And for me, that foundation has been my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. Because that relationship has been able to sustain me through the good days and the bad days when they come. And I assure you, they will come. One of the reasons happiness is overrated is because it often gets in the way of success, which is, by the way, the third reason, or the third example. Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes 2, he said, I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself. I planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks. I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water flowering trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves born in my house. I owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem. He said, I amassed silver and gold. This was the richest man who ever lived in his time. He had, in today's money, would be like in the billions. He had a lot of money. But you know what Solomon said about it? Worthless. He said, it's all worthless. I cannot imagine having all that kind of wealth and a man says it's worthless. Solomon later wrote, whoever loves money never has money enough. There's an old Roman proverb that says, money is like salt water. The more you drink, the more you want. If you make being success your life's goal, you will be ultimately disappointed, because success never can produce satisfaction and significance. You may have a building named after you someday. You may drive the nicest and most expensive car. You may live in the nicest house in a gated community, but what will it matter if you die rich, but you never did figure out why you lived? You see, you were made for more than just seeing how soon you can pay off a mortgage or how long you can put off that funeral. You were made for more than just a career. You were made for a calling. You see, a career is something that you're paid for. A calling is what you're made for. And if you haven't found that calling by now, I hope that you do someday soon. Solomon finally, at the end of his book, he said, after I tried every avenue of pleasure, trying to find happiness, he says, nothing like that worked, but here's what makes me happy. Fear God, keep His commandment. This is the whole duty of man, he said. And that's the lesson. But I've got 5 bonus points for you. Okay? Number 1, remember this. Whatever you post is permanent. Number 2, please don't text and drive. Number 3, always wear your seatbelt. Number 4, if you're thinking about getting a cat or a dog, do what Jesus would do. Get a dog. And number 5, I want to leave you with some wisdom that some of you already have. Some of you won't get this wisdom until later on in life. Some of you may never get it, but I hope you do. It's the words of Solomon. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. We love you, and God bless you.